Yo, what is going on, ladies and gentlemen? It's Mr. BlueBasher here, and I am going to be talking about the new Fallout 4 Survival Beta today, as well as showing you guys how to go ahead and opt into that beta so you guys can play for yourselves. Step number one is on the computer, you're going to go ahead and open up Steam. If you're on a console, what you'll want to do is sell your console. I would probably recommend something like Craigslist or eBay. I would stay away from anything like GameStop or any of those other third-party retailers, as they're only going to give you like $9 for your entire console. Once you've got Steam set up and downloaded and installed, you go down to your library, you go to your games, you want to scroll around until you find the Fallout 4 install. You want to right-click on that and click on Properties. Once you've done that, you go over here to the Betas tab, and by default, you will be selected for None, opt out of all beta programs. You want to go ahead, hit that little drop-down menu, click Beta Survival Beta Update. You can go ahead and close that now, and then once you've done that, you'll see that you now have a 555 megabyte install pending for Fallout 4. And once that goes ahead and downloads, you'll be all set up and ready to play the Fallout 4 Survival Beta. Just as a note, I want to make sure that it's clear that this is for the PC only. Consoles do not have access to the Survival Beta, but it will be part of an upcoming patch here in the near future that will eventually hit consoles, and you will be able to play it on the console if you don't want to sell your console and just buy a computer. Also keep in mind that it will disable any of the mods that you have installed. So any custom mods that like add new items to the game, or change the way that objects interact with each other, like the simple insertion mod, or anything of that nature will not work, and they will be disabled. You will, however, be able to use any of the mods that overwrite the default textures of Fallout, like the Texture Optimization Project, the Eyes of Beauty, or the Touch of Green mod, just to name a couple, because those, like I said earlier, will just overwrite the default textures instead of adding its own ESM file. Now, getting into some of the changes. In its current state, the survival mode has a number of changes. First and foremost, there's no fast travel, so if you want to get anywhere, you have to walk there. You now have to eat food, drink water, sleep in beds, and you also have to deal with illnesses. There is no quick saving, there's no manual saving. And autosaves are disabled unless you sleep in a bed. And that's when you get your autosave. You can now carry a lot less weight, as well as the ammunition, stim packs, and fusion cores, and different things like that. Now have an actual weight instead of just weighing nothing. There's a couple of new items you can craft: herbal remedies and antibiotics. Antibiotics will heal any illness that you have, as well as herbal remedies will grant you more resistance to specific types of illnesses. The amount of damage you take has been increased, as well as the amount of damage that you deal has been increased. There is a new perk called Adrenaline, which increases your damage output. It's not a perk that you take in the perk menu. You just get this perk by getting kills, and as soon as you sleep, that kind of starts to fizzle out. Your enemies no longer appear on the compass, and the points of interest have a greatly reduced range, so you basically have to be like 30 units within a building for it to actually appear on your compass. You have to deal with fatigue, which affects your action points instead of your hit points, but also works in much the same way that radiation does, where if you don't eat, you don't sleep, you don't drink water, it'll start to give you more fatigue, and it'll fill up your action point bar with red that you can't use. Much like radiation does. You can get different illnesses, which I'll just go ahead and stick on the screen. Got insomnia, lethargy, fatigue, parasites, weakness, and infections. All can be cured via a doctor, out in Diamond City or wherever. Stim packs now heal a lot more slowly. They take about 7 years to actually run their entire course. Your crippled limbs no longer auto-heal after combat, and they will, stay crippled until you use a stim pack or sleep in a bed. Companions no longer get up after combat. You have to heal them with a stim pack, or they will return to their home or whatever the last location you had them at was, the last settlement you had them at was. Food and water, you have to eat food, whatever random meat you find off of enemies, or things like Salisbury steaks, yum deviled eggs, etc. To drink water. Drinking dirty water will increase the chance that you get an illness. You can also just drink, lake water, pond water, river water, whatever, as well as being able to drink water directly from a water well in a settlement, which I would highly recommend and abuse the shit out of. Now, those are kind of just some of the basics of the new survival mode in its beta state. Some of these changes, some of these items might be changed in its final patch. There's a couple of things I want to discuss quickly. Number one, I really wish that bullets were more deadly. There are still times when I shoot somebody in the head, like a raider in the head, and he doesn't die, and I question how well you would actually be able to shrug off a bullet in real life. I mean, I fucking shoot him in the head point blank, and he's kind of just shrugs it off and then keeps shooting at me and kills me. And I think it's kind of bullshit. So I would prefer to see the amount of damage I take and the amount of damage I deal to be greatly increased further than it is in the beta currently. I think the rate at which I get hungry or thirsty or sleepy is kind of bullshit, but I blame that on the game's engine, on the time scale of the game itself. Since time progresses at a much greater rate, I can imagine that the time at which I become hungry or thirsty or tired is kind of mirrored to real life. Especially, I mean, the Sole Survivor is, walking all across the Boston Commonwealth, doing all sorts of crazy things, killing people and shit like that. So I can understand if the Sole Survivor gets hungrier or thirstier faster than, let's say, I would. But I would like to see... I just feel like it is much too quickly. But I mean, I haven't actually looked at I haven't taken a deeper dive into the actual realistics of, 2 p.m. versus 2 a.m., kind of what changes between then and then. I would also like to see an ability to toggle different aspects of survival on or off, respectively. I myself don't really care for this, but I know that there's a lot of people who don't want to have to deal with eating or sleeping. And they just want to have, autosaves when you enter a building disabled, or, they want to have fast travel disabled or whatever like that. So that's more geared towards other people, but I think that would still be a good implementation, as well as maybe even a slider for the amount of damage you take, like I had suggested a little bit earlier. Maybe have a slider for that, so you have the default survival, or you can increase it to where a 50 cal round to the head will kill pretty much anything. But at the same time, if you take a 50 cal round to the head, you're pretty much dead. When I was building up Hangman's Alley, I would wake up and end up with lethargy or fatigue or some shit, even though I had just woken up and, haven't done anything dangerous. I've just been building a settlement. I think the illnesses can be reworked a little bit, so that way, while you're out exploring, you have a greater chance of getting an illness versus a greatly reduced chance of getting an illness while you're in a town or in a settlement and, you're kind of living there peacefully. I'd like to see it's made me personally... completely changed the way that I played the game. Before I was playing just a melee, get in your face, smash you with a baseball bat kind of build. And now I have to be a lot more cautious with the way that I'm playing, and I'm basically sneaking everywhere. I will say sneaking is absolutely a must in this game, as well as the local leader perk, just so you can get all of your settlements connected. You don't have to run all the way back to Sanctuary to get all of that wood that you scrapped earlier. You can just have it hand delivered to any of your other settlements as you please. So, ladies and gentlemen, that is the Fallout 4 survival beta. If you have any questions, leave them down in the comment section down below. If you have any suggestions for future videos, go ahead and leave those down there as well. I'll probably do a follow-up video when the new survival mode finally hits patch, kind of discuss any of the changes that might happen, as well as some final thoughts on the whole survival thing. As always, I've been Mr. BlueBasher. Don't forget to comment, rate, subscribe, all of that fun shit like usual, and we will see you in the next video. Peace. And there's a fucking dog in the background. Jesus. Please shut the fuck up.